Hello, everybody. My name is Rosie, and welcome to Turn on the AC, a podcast where we highlight Asian Christian creatives navigating their life in today's modern society. We pray that each conversation and episode helps you create community, inspire, challenge, and encourage whatever stage of life and season you're in. So join us for today's episode. Hello, and welcome back to Turn on the AC. I am so excited for season 2, you guys. It's definitely been a work in progress, and I just want to apologize for being super behind on or not posting quite a bit on Turn on the AC. There has been a lot that's been happening in my personal life, and which I will dive into later. So it's not a secret, but yeah. So this episode is really just to update you guys on what I've been doing, and what to expect for season 2, things that I've learned in season 1, and sort of like the schedule and how to support us if you guys want to for Turn on the AC. And I don't know if you guys noticed, but I am in a new location. And that's because I moved out. So currently I'm in my apartment, and I didn't just move to an apartment in Kansas, but rather I actually moved to a whole nother state. So I am now living in Ohio. And yeah, I know, Ohio, right? Like who wants to move to Ohio? But I moved here because of my job. And I remember in episode 1 of season 1, I said that I worked for Hallmark, or I work at Hallmark. I currently don't work at Hallmark anymore. It didn't last long. I quit because I took on a new job, and I currently work for the Christian and Missionary Alliance as a cinematographer and a video editor, and it has truly been the dream job for me. So I get to film and edit and tell stories of the ministry work that happens within the Alliance. And if you guys want to know more about what the Christian and Missionary Alliance is, I will put a link down below for you guys to learn about them if you guys want. I just don't want to go into like full detail into what the CMA is. So yeah, that is what I do now. And it's crazy because I would have never thought that, in a couple months or years later, that I would be doing this, that I would be here. And it's just beautiful because I didn't dream it for myself, but God did. And yeah, so because of that, because I had to move across the state, I had to take a break from Turn on the AC and planning season 2. And then I also had to take a break from my small business, Never Too Much, just because I was relocating. And that's tough because you're trying to find new rhythms in life. You're trying to figure out new routines. You're, settling in. And I just really wanted to settle in without the hustle and bustle of like, oh my goodness, I have to make season 2 happen. And so I also wanted to be intentional with season 2. And I didn't want it to feel like I was rushing to put this together, but rather like praying about, okay, who does God want to be on season 2? Like, who is God leading me to in conversations? Like, who do I feel like would be interesting to have and to hear their story? And so, yeah, with that, it allowed me to slow down a lot more and to think about also like what is the theme that I would want for this season. And so for last season, the theme was the past. And I didn't realize that until I listened to it, and I was trying to come up with a new theme for season 2. But I realized that in season 1, we did talk a lot about our parents and, growing up in that environment, and, how our relationships with our parents impact the way that we create, how our culture, how who we are impacts what we create in a sense. And then also the big question that I asked everyone at the beginning was, what is one piece of advice that you would give to your younger self? And really, it is looking at your past and saying, if only you knew this, like, it would be okay. You're going to be okay in the future. Like, Rosie, like, you have so much, that's going to happen to you. Like, you're going to be so courageous or confident, and it's going to be awesome. Like, I felt like if younger me knew that, I would be more confident going into who I am. But, I guess that's also like the joys of learning as you go. But yeah, so and I realized that the theme for my company this year is being present, and I loved that. I loved asking the question, like, why does it matter being present? And I thought, okay, as a creative, how can we be present? Because I feel like we are always on the go. Like, we're always thinking about the next project, the next person to connect with, the next email, just like things like that can build up into like anxiety or even just worry about, like, oh my goodness, like, what's going to happen to me in the future. And I feel that quite a lot now. Like, a lot of people ask me, what's the next step for you, Rosie? And honestly, I don't know. And I'm trying to throw away the 3 to 5 year plan and not be worried about where I'm going to be at 27, if I'm going to be married or not. And I just want to live for the moment that God has me in, for the season that God has me in, and I want to be content. And I know that sounds a lot easier said than done. Of course, there's been lots of times of struggles with, even loneliness or like doubts and worries, like, really, God, like, what is the next step? But realizing it's okay to take a breather and that everything is going to be okay and everything's going to work out, and to not rush life. Like, as you get older, you realize how fast time is flying. Like, it's just crazy how fast things can change. Like I said earlier, it wasn't even a year. It was like a couple of months. It was like 6 months, and then I decided to take this job offer. And yeah, it's just amazing what you can do or what can change when you allow to say yes to what God has given the opportunity for. And sometimes that is waiting for a couple years, like that time at Hallmark. Although I thought like this was it, I just remember walking in on the first day and being like, yeah, this is a job people retire to. Like, it's a good job. It's a good company. They love their people there. They have good values. They treat their company and their employees well. But I just don't know if I want to do this forever for the rest of my life, and not feeling content and feeling like, God, I grew where you planted me, but what's next? And I was struggling with like just asking God those questions every day, like, what's next? What's next, God? What are you going to do? What am I going to do? What should I do? And, but then you open up this door, and of course, like, it wasn't just me waiting, but rather I applied for this job and I did the interview. And, I think there's beauty in like, yes, God can use you, but also like you have to be willing to be used. Like, you have to also put yourself out there. You also have to do the work as well. Like, it's not just, okay, God, like, I'm sitting here pretty, like, bring what's next. But you got to get your hands dirty sometimes, and sometimes you got to weep, and sometimes you got to be frustrated. And God hears that, and he hears you in the season you're in. And so yeah, being present. And the one question that I'm going to be asking everyone on this podcast is, if your younger self met you today, what is something that they would be proud of or excited about when it comes to who you've become today? And I know that's a mouthful. I'm pretty sure that could be shortened up, but I just really love how thorough that question is, because in the first season, it's us giving advice to younger self, but now it's our younger self, like in our younger self, looking at where and how far we have come, because I think a lot of the time we can discredit how far we've come. Like, we don't see our growth until someone tells us to take a step back and say, look how far you've come. And you may feel like it's just like a little step, but girl, and even to my guys, like, y'all are doing big things. Like, even though you didn't win the Nobel Peace Prize, but you've come so far, and you should be proud of yourself too. And you worked hard, you had to go through hard things, and you did it. You're doing it, and it's beautiful, and you're growing as you go. And so, yeah, I just thought it'd be really interesting to see how other creatives view present and being present and how they do that. And so in season one, I some of the things that I really took from season one, some of the life lessons that I still apply today, or still think about today, is the episode with Sarah Hartono when she talks about Sabbath, resting, and also co-creating with God. So with Sabbath and resting, I've been hearing that quite frequently, and I think that's because I'm hearing more of these from like pastors and ministry leaders, and even just random conversations with people about resting well. Like, how do they do that? And knowing that it's needed and it's important to rest and to take breaks, to not burn out, but also not to just like rest, like take naps, or to like step away from everything, but to rest with God. Like, how does that look like? And I think a lot of us can think, okay, if I'm going to read the Bible, it has to be the perfect environment. I have to be in the right headspace. I need to be focused on God. I need to have my feelings under control, or, I shouldn't be tired. But I just remember hearing a sermon, I believe, from Jonathan Pokluda. If I can find it, I will link it down below so you guys can listen to it as well. But he was just saying, like, if we based reading the Bible on how we're feeling, we will never read the Bible. And that hit me deep because for me, I'm a feelings person. Like, I do feel like I need to be in the right environment. I do feel like I need to be in the right headspace. Otherwise, I'm not giving God my all, right? But for me, that was impactful because, yeah, there are days where I come home from work and I'm so tired, or, I just don't feel mentally there, or mentally there as in like, I'm just not feeling happier than I usually am, if that makes sense. And so, there's times where I don't understand what the Bible is saying, or like, why am I reading this verse about, this thing that I feel like I can't relate to. But at the same time, I think we have to ask the question, like, not how does this apply to me, but more, what does this reveal about God himself? And that's what I've been learning as well this year, is just, okay, how can I get to know more of Jesus and who he is? And so I've been reading this book recently called Gentle and Lowly, and a lot of people have been reading this book as well. And it really just talks about the characteristics of Jesus. And I haven't finished it yet, but from what I've read so far and the conversations I've had with people who've read it, they really recommend it. If you're wondering, like, who is Jesus and why does he care so much about me? Like, why is he the way that he is? And in that sense, like, that book shows us, and the book talks through it, and it gives Bible passages to support it. And so, yeah, that's also been something that I've been really appreciating. And I believe Jackie Hill Perry, she also said, like, just because God doesn't feel like he's there doesn't mean he's not there. And just because you don't feel him doesn't mean that you're not a Christian. And I found that impactful because there are a lot of times where I feel that way. And when I don't feel God's presence, in a sense, I'm like, man, like, does he not love me? Like, am I not a Christian? Like, all these doubts. And I don't hear God's voice prominently, like, Rosie, do this, or Rosie, you're doing this greatly, like, as much as I would love to, God doesn't speak to me in that way, which is sometimes, when I hear people say, oh yeah, Jesus told me this, I'm like, did he though? Like, did he? But at the same time, like, God can still speak to people. And I'm realizing that miracles can and miracles, healings can still happen today. Um, I just remember watching a video that the Christian Missionary Alliance made about this man whose eye was healed because he lost his eye, or like something happened where his eye was, I think it was a bomb, and it made him blind. And so I'll have to also link that video down below for you guys to watch it if it's on public. But yeah, so his eye got blown out and like he couldn't see anymore. And the missionaries came and they prayed for it and it was healed and he could see. And I remember watching that and I'm like, oh yeah, that's all science, like healing, obviously, like it probably something happened. But then I just remember hearing the Holy Spirit convict me, saying, you don't think I could do that? And I was like, whoa, like, okay, God, like, I was putting you in this little box and thinking, oh, you can only do this inside of here, but rather, I forget, like, our God is a big God. Like, he can do anything he wants. And so, yeah, it's just been like, going back to what I've been learning. And so, yeah, all that from, prioritizing who God is and learning who he is and things like that. Another thing is what Danny Jung says about prioritizing is like, how do we make time to brush our teeth? How do we make time to eat? It's because we make time for it. And it's true, like if we want to spend time with God, we will make time for it. Like we prioritize what we want to do. And I think that really hit me because I think it's easier to say, oh, yeah, I'm so busy with life, or I don't have time to read your word today, God. But realizing like you just have to make time for it. And one thing that I found was so similar within all these creatives was when I was asking the question, like, how do you balance life? Like, how do you balance time with God? How do you balance, your small business, entrepreneurship, all these things, being creative, family, friends, and all of them said that there is no perfect way to balance it. And that really is so true. And it's so simple. And I don't know why I didn't think of that. But for me, like I kept thinking, oh, like I need to balance this and my life, and I need to balance God and timing. But really, it's like, okay, if you want to make time for it, you will. And so I just found those really impactful. And so with season one, I know that they were rather long, so all of them were an hour. And I really wrestled with the thought of maybe I should cut, them to be shorter. Like maybe I should cut them to like 30 minutes or 45 minutes. Like an hour is pretty long, but the more I thought about it, the more I realized that I would really love for you guys, when you listen to these podcasts, to feel that you can actually connect and know the person who's talking, like the guest who's talking, and to not just feel like an outsider. Like I think a lot of the times people can be like, okay, but who are they and why do they matter? But I wanted to create this to be a platform for the creatives to tell their stories and for you guys to hear their stories and for us to all connect and to relate and to hear the struggles, to hear what their mindset, what they're going through, what they're thinking of. And, you just can't do that within 30 minutes. Some of these creatives have smaller businesses that you guys don't even know about yet. And so I think it's cool to hear their backstory, to hear the reason why they do this and do that. And so I'm just super excited for the guest for season two. They're just as amazing as the season one guest. And, we have songwriters, we have singers, we have people who work with big companies, actors, entrepreneurs, just everyone that you can think of is on here. And I'm excited to, get more creatives on here. I want to hear everyone's story. I want to let their voice be heard. And yeah, it's also just like really refreshing to me too. I think a lot of the times I would come into these calls and be like, okay, like it's gonna be an hour to 2 hour long. Like that's a long time to talk, but I would always come back so refreshed, and I would always come back with something new and inspired to create even more. And so again, like the whole point of Turn on the AC is to inspire, encourage, and create. And that's what I want for you guys to feel when you guys listen to them. And I just want to say thank you guys so much for supporting Turn on the AC. It has been such a huge encouragement to me to have you guys tell me in person that you guys listen to this podcast, that you guys find it encouraging, that you guys love supporting this and want to see more. That is so affirming to me that God is working in this and God is doing something beautiful in this. And again, I just wanted to thank you guys so much. So, with that, the schedule will be every other Monday at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. So now because I moved to Ohio, I'm now part of Central Standard Time. So in, I believe, Central Standard Time, it'll be 11 a.m. and then Pacific Time, it'll be 9 a.m. And so a lot of people are wondering like why I release them on Monday. And the reason that I do that is because I love listening to them I love listening to podcasts when I'm driving or I'm doing errands. And so I feel like Monday is a really good time to allow you guys to do that on your work day, because I know Saturday and Sunday can be kind of busy for everybody or just like a resting day. And, but I mean, if you listen to this on a Saturday or Sunday, kudos to you. I would, but I actually do listen to all of the episodes again here and there. I've learned quite a bit from just like season 1, and I'm still learning. So season 1, looking back, was, there was some rough audio edits, but at the same time, it's so hard when I'm trying to like release a schedule on top of working full time. And it's just me. Eventually, like I said before, I would love to hire like a team and to actually make this happen where we can have like gatherings, get-togethers, like real life gatherings or like workshops, things like that. Like these are just things that I'm dreaming about for Turn on the AC and what I hope for it to be like in the future. And yeah, so definitely just continue to pray about that with me as well. Like if that's what God wants it to be, then it will be. And if not, then I'm okay with it just being like this recording session at home and meeting with creatives at their homes as well. So, yeah, so again, it'll be released every other Monday at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. Sorry, guys, I'm spacing out, but I'm trying to be here. I'm trying to like gather all of my thoughts together, which is kind of why I take some pauses in between, because I'm trying to gather what I'm going to say next or trying to be eloquent about what I'm saying and making sure I say it right. Although English is my first language, I tend to have like a little accent. I don't know where it's from, but yeah, maybe it's from my parents being Hmong, but I don't know. We'll figure it out. But yeah, you guys can connect with us on Instagram at the.Asian Creatives, and you guys can also watch us on YouTube at rose.xiong. And don't forget to support us on Anchor. You can follow us there, and on Spotify. I believe if you press like the notify button, it'll give you guys a notification for every time we have an episode up, and it'll pop up on your screen. Just in case if you're wondering, like, when the next episode is going to release, or you want to be the first one to listen in on the episode. And yeah, your guys' support means so much to me. And if you guys would like to support us monthly, all of that fund will be put into season 3 and will be much greatly appreciated. And yeah, again, I just want to thank you guys so much. You guys have been so supportive more than ever, and continue to pray with us and for us. And yeah, I'm just so excited for you guys to hear the rest of the episodes of season 2. Bye guys.